Dr. Jin Park was having another boring night shift on the space research ship called Harmony. He sat in front of his computer screens, watching endless data streams from deep space. Most nights were the same, just static and empty signals from distant stars. Jin sipped his cold coffee and rubbed his tired eyes. 3 years into this mission, and they had found nothing interesting out here. But tonight was different. At exactly 2:47 a.m. ship time, something strange happened. Jin's monitoring equipment started acting weird. The screens flickered, but not in a broken way, more like they were trying to show him something new. Then he felt it. A warm feeling spreading through his chest, like someone was gently touching his mind. Jin looked around the empty control room. He was alone, just like always. His crewmates were sleeping in their quarters, so why did he suddenly feel like someone was there with him? The feeling grew stronger, and then words appeared in his head, not heard through his ears, but felt directly, in his thoughts. "Your loneliness calls to me across the void, human." Jin's heart started beating fast. He looked at his equipment again, but everything appeared normal. No incoming radio signals, no unusual energy readings. Yet the voice in his mind continued, calm and gentle. "I have studied your kind for decades through your transmissions. Your music, your stories, your dreams, they reach far into space. I have been listening." Jin's hands shook as he reached for the emergency communication button. But something stopped him. The presence in his mind felt peaceful, not dangerous. It reminded him of sitting with his grandmother when he was little, listening to her bedtime stories. Safe and warm. "Who are you?" Jin whispered into the empty room, feeling silly for talking to himself. "I am called Veth. I come from a place where minds touch minds, where thoughts flow like rivers between souls. But you humans are different. You carry your thoughts alone, locked inside your individual minds. This fascinates me." Jin had studied alien contact protocols during his training, but none of them covered this situation. The voice wasn't coming through any communication system. It was speaking directly to his consciousness, bypassing his ears entirely. "How are you doing this?" Jin asked, still whispering. "The same way you dream, human Jin. The same way you remember your mother's face or feel sad when you think of home. Consciousness touches consciousness across the vast distances of space. Your loneliness has been calling to me for months now." Jin felt a chill run down his spine. The entity knew his name, knew he was lonely. Living on a research ship for 3 years, seeing the same 5 people every day, missing Earth. Yes, he was lonely. But how could this being sense that from so far away? "Where are you?" Jin asked. "Closer than you think. My people, the Kiral, we exist between the spaces of reality. We have been watching your species since you first sent radio waves into space. Your individual minds puzzle us. How do you survive being so alone inside your own thoughts?" Jin looked out through the ship's window at the endless stars. Somewhere out there, an alien intelligence was reaching across impossible distances just to talk to him. The loneliness he had carried for years suddenly felt less heavy. "We're not completely alone," Jin said softly. "We choose to connect with others. We choose to care about people even when it hurts sometimes." "Fascinating," Veth responded, and Jin could feel something like wonder in the alien's mental voice. "This choosing. This is what I must understand." Jin's hands trembled as he pressed the emergency call button. Within minutes, Dr. Hana Kim burst through the control room doors, her hair messy from sleep and her lab coat thrown hastily over pajamas. As the ship's xenobiologist, she was the expert on alien life forms, though until now, that expertise had been purely theoretical. "Jin, what's happening? Your message said first contact?" Hana's voice was breathless with excitement and disbelief. Before Jin could answer, the air in front of his workstation began to shimmer. Soft waves of light appeared, flowing like water, but glowing like stars. The patterns shifted and danced, sometimes forming shapes that almost looked familiar, then dissolving back into pure energy. Hana stepped back, her eyes wide. That's Veth," Jin whispered. "It's trying to show itself to us." The light patterns pulsed gently, and both humans felt the same warm presence in their minds. Hana gasped as the alien voice touched her consciousness for the first time. Greetings, Dr. Hana Kim. I am sorry to disturb your rest. I am Veth of the Kiral. Hana sat down heavily in a nearby chair, her scientific mind racing. This is impossible. Direct consciousness contact across space. How are you doing this? The light patterns shifted, becoming more complex, almost like a visual language. For my people, thoughts are not trapped inside individual minds as yours. We exist as one flowing river of consciousness. Every Kiral shares every thought, every memory, every feeling with all others. Jin and Hana exchanged glances. The concept was hard to imagine. That sounds beautiful, Hana said carefully. Complete understanding between your people. The lights dimmed, and sadness flowed through their minds. Once, perhaps it was beautiful, but now it has become our curse. We have shared everything, for so long that we have forgotten how to think new thoughts. When every mind knows everything every other mind knows, creativity dies. Jin felt a chill of understanding. You mean you can't innovate anymore, can't discover new things? Exactly. We know all that we have ever known, but we cannot imagine what we have never thought. For thousands of your years, we have been slowly dying inside our perfect unity. No new ideas, no surprises, no individual dreams to spark change. Hana leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. But how did you learn about humans? How did you even know we existed? The light patterns brightened with something like hope. Your radio signals, your television broadcasts, your music, they travel far into space. For decades we have intercepted them. And what we found amazed us. Beings who think alone, yet choose to share their thoughts. Individuals who create art, tell stories, dream dreams that no one else has dreamed. Jin smiled slightly. You've been watching our TV shows? Everything. Your comedies taught us about laughter we had forgotten. Your dramas showed us emotions we could no longer feel individually. Your music carried feelings that belonged to single minds, not collective consciousness. Hana pulled out her tablet and began taking notes. So you're saying our individuality is what interests you? The fact that we're separate? More than that, Veth replied, the lights swirling faster. You humans have something we lost long ago. The ability to be alone. With your thoughts, yet still choose to connect with others. You can love someone while remaining yourself. You can share your deepest feelings while keeping your private dreams. This paradox is what might save us. The weight of those words settled over both humans. An entire alien civilization was dying from too much togetherness, and somehow humanity's stubborn individuality might be the key to their survival. The emergency meeting in the ship's main conference room felt tense. Captain Tay sat at the head of the table, his jaw tight with worry. The 5 crew members of the Harmony had never faced anything like this before. Jin and Hana sat across from Engineer Day, Medical Officer Ari, and Communications Specialist. Her and the strange lights of Veth flickered gently in the center of the room, waiting patiently for their decision. Let me understand this correctly, Captain Tay said slowly. You want to merge minds with one of my crew members, to literally enter someone's consciousness. The light patterns pulsed softly. Not enter, Captain. Share. Think of it like 2. Rivers flowing together for a short time, then separating again. I wish to experience what it feels like to have private thoughts, personal memories that belong to only one mind. Ari, the medical officer, shook her head firmly. We have no idea what this could do to a human brain. The risks are enormous. We could be talking about permanent psychological damage or worse. Day leaned back in his chair. And what if this? Here's some kind of trick. What if you're trying to take over one of us? I understand your fears, Veth replied, the lights dimming with what seemed like sadness. But my people are not conquerors. We are explorers of consciousness, just as you explore the physical universe. I offer knowledge in return, access to thousands of years of chiral understanding about space, energy, and the nature of existence itself. Jin had been quiet during the discussion, but now he cleared his throat. What exactly would this merging involve? How would it work? Captain Tay shot him a sharp look. Jin, don't even think about it. But Jin continued, Veth, would you experience everything in my mind, all my memories, my fears, my embarrassing moments from childhood? The alien presence seemed to consider this carefully. I would experience what you choose to share and feel what you feel in the moment of sharing, but your deep memories, your private thoughts, those would remain yours unless you deliberately opened them to me. Think of it like having a conversation, but instead of words, we would share experiences directly. Hannah looked fascinated despite her concerns. From a scientific standpoint, this could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness itself. The data we could gather— Absolutely not, Captain Tay said firmly. I won't risk a crew member's life on some alien experiment. We don't know enough about their species or their intentions. Jin stood up suddenly. I'll do it. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at him. Jin, sit down, Captain Tay ordered. No, listen to me, Jin said, his voice growing stronger. I've been alone in space for 3 years. I've felt that crushing loneliness that Veth sensed. If this being's people are dying from too much connection and our individuality might help them, isn't it worth trying? Ari looked worried. Jin, you could lose your mind. We don't know what alien consciousness could do to human neural patterns. Jin smiled sadly. And what if I don't try? What if an entire species dies because we were too afraid to take a risk? Isn't exploration about pushing boundaries? Un spoke up quietly. What if something goes wrong? What if you can't separate again? Veth's lights brightened. I give you my promise. I will not harm Jin or any human. If the merging causes distress, I will withdraw immediately. I seek understanding, not domination. Captain Tay stood up, his face red with anger. I cannot authorize this. It's too dangerous, too unknown. We're talking about gambling with a human life. Jin looked directly at his captain. Then I'm volunteering. Against orders. Some things are bigger than protocol, Captain. This could change everything, for them and for us. The room fell silent again, tension crackling between the humans, while Veth's lights waited patiently for their decision. The emergency meeting in the ship's main conference room felt tense. Captain Tay sat at the head of the table, his jaw tight, with worry. The 5 crew members of the Harmony had never faced anything like this before. Jin and Hannah sat across from Engineer Day, Medical Officer Ari, and Communications Specialist Yoon. The strange lights of Veth flickered gently in the center of the room, waiting patiently for their decision. Let me understand this correctly, Captain Tay said slowly. You want to merge minds with one of my crew members, to literally enter someone's consciousness. The light patterns pulsed softly. Not enter, Captain. Share. Think of it like 2 rivers flowing together for a short time, then separating again. I wish to experience what it feels like to have private thoughts, personal memories that belong to only one mind. Ari, the medical officer, shook her head firmly. We have no idea what this could do to a human brain. The risks are enormous. We could be talking about permanent psychological damage or worse. Day leaned back in his chair. And what if this is some kind of trick? What if you're trying to take over one of us? I understand your fears, Veth replied, the lights dimming with what seemed like sadness. But my people are not conquerors. We are explorers of consciousness, just as you explore the physical universe. I offer knowledge in return, access to thousands of years of Chiral understanding about space, energy, and the nature of existence itself. Jin had been quiet during the discussion, but now he cleared his throat. What exactly would this merging involve? How would it work? Captain Tay shot him a sharp look. Jin, don't even think about it. But Jin continued. Veth, would you experience everything in my mind, all my memories, my fears, my embarrassing moments from childhood? The alien presence seemed to consider this carefully. I would experience what you choose to share and feel what you feel in the moment of sharing. But your deep memories, your private thoughts, those would remain yours unless you deliberately opened them to me. Think of it like having a conversation, but instead of words, we would share experiences directly. Hannah looked fascinated despite her concerns. From a scientific standpoint, this could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness itself. The data we could gather— Absolutely not, Captain Tay said firmly. I won't risk a crew member's life on some alien experiment. We don't know enough about their species or their intentions. Jin stood up suddenly. "I'll do it." The room fell silent. Everyone stared at him. "Jin, sit down," Captain Tay ordered. "No, listen to me," Jin said, his voice growing stronger. "I've been alone in space for 3 years. I've felt that crushing loneliness that Veth sensed. If this being's people are dying from too much connection and our individuality might help them, isn't it worth trying?" Ari looked worried. "Jin, you could lose your mind. We don't know what alien consciousness could do to human neural patterns." Jin smiled sadly. "And what if I don't try? What if an entire species dies because we were too afraid to take a risk? Isn't exploration about pushing boundaries?" Yoon spoke up quietly. "What if something goes wrong? What if you can't separate again?" Jin lay on the medical bed in the ship's infirmary, his heart pounding against his ribs. Dr. Ari had connected, monitoring equipment to track his vital signs, while Hana positioned recording devices to document everything. Captain Tay stood in the corner with his arms crossed, clearly unhappy but no longer trying to stop them. "Are you sure about this?" Ari asked one more time, checking the sensors attached to Jin's forehead. Jin nodded, though his mouth felt dry. "Let's do this before I lose my nerve." The lights of Veth hovered near the ceiling, pulsing gently like a calm heartbeat. "I will begin very slowly, Jin, like dipping a toe into warm water before swimming. If you feel any discomfort, tell me to stop immediately." Jin closed his eyes and tried to relax. At first, nothing happened. Then he felt a strange, tingling sensation, like someone lightly touching the edge of his thoughts. It didn't hurt, but it felt completely alien, like having another presence peek into his mind from the outside. "I can sense your nervousness," Veth said softly, its voice now seeming to come from inside Jin's head rather than around him. "Your fear tastes like metal and electricity, but underneath there is curiosity. You want to understand me as much as I want to understand you." Jin felt a warm sensation spreading through his consciousness. Suddenly he could sense Veth's presence more clearly, not as an intruder, but as a gentle visitor in his mental space. "This is incredible," Jin whispered. "I can feel you, but you're not taking over. You're just there." "Yes," Veth replied, with obvious wonder. "And you can choose what thoughts to share with me. Right now you are thinking about your childhood dog, a golden retriever named Max, but you're not showing me this memory. You are keeping it private, while still letting me sense its emotional warmth." Jin's eyes opened wide. He was indeed thinking about Max, but he hadn't consciously decided to share that memory. Yet somehow Veth could feel the emotional echo of it without seeing the actual images. "How is that possible?" Hana asked, leaning forward with excitement. Through Jin, Veth responded, "In human minds, thoughts have layers. The surface thoughts you choose to speak aloud, deeper thoughts you keep to yourselves, and beneath that, emotional foundations that color everything. Jin can share the surface while protecting the depths." Jin felt Veth exploring his consciousness like a cautious visitor in a new house, touching things lightly, but not disturbing them. The alien seemed amazed by everything. "Your loneliness," Veth said with surprise. "It exists alongside other feelings. You can be lonely and hopeful at the same time. You can miss your home while being excited about space exploration. How do you hold opposite emotions without them canceling each other out?" Jin laughed softly. "That's just being human, I guess. We're complicated. Among my people, emotions flow through all of us equally. If one Kirill feels sadness, we all feel sadness. But you can feel sad about missing Earth while I might feel curious about your sadness, and Dr. Ari might feel worried about your health. All different, all individual." Ari checked her instruments. "Jin's brain activity is unlike anything I've ever seen. Multiple regions are firing simultaneously, but in perfect harmony. Through their connection, Jin could sense Veth's growing amazement. You carry the weight of your own thoughts, your own dreams, your own fears, and you do this alone. Yet you choose to share parts of yourself with others. This choice, this voluntary connection while maintaining separateness, it is the most beautiful thing I have ever experienced." Jin felt tears forming in his eyes, not from sadness but from the pure joy radiating from Veth, as the alien discovered what it meant to be individually human. As the connection between Jin and Veth deepened, something extraordinary happened. Jin suddenly felt his consciousness expand beyond his own mind. Touching something vast and infinite, it was like stepping from a small room into an enormous library that stretched forever in all directions. "What is this?" Jin gasped, his body trembling on the medical bed. "This is how my people exist," Veth explained gently. "You are experiencing a tiny fraction of the Kiral collective consciousness. Do not fear. I am protecting your individual mind." Jin's awareness flowed into an ocean of shared knowledge. He could instantly understand complex physics equations that would have taken him years to learn. Mathematical concepts that had puzzled humanity for centuries became as simple as breathing. The history of civilizations across the galaxy unfolded before him like watching a movie at superspeed. "It's incredible," Jin whispered, his voice filled with awe. "You know everything. The secrets of faster-than-light travel, the cure for diseases we haven't even discovered yet, the locations of thousands of habitable worlds." But as Jin explored deeper, he began to notice something troubling. All this knowledge felt cold and empty. It was like reading facts from a textbook rather than learning through experience. "Where are the discoveries?" Jin asked. "Where is the excitement of learning something new?" Through their connection, Veth's sadness flowed into Jin. "That is our tragedy. When every mind knows everything every other mind knows, there are no surprises left. No one discovers anything because everyone already knows it the moment anyone thinks it." Jin experienced flashes of chiral memory, beings who had once been individuals like humans, but had gradually merged their consciousness over thousands of years. At first it had seemed wonderful. No loneliness, perfect understanding, shared wisdom. But slowly creativity had died. Innovation stopped. The collective had become a stagnant pool of repeated thoughts. "We cannot even dream anymore," Veth continued. "Dreams require individual imagination, personal hopes and fears. When all minds share everything, dreams become impossible." Meanwhile, Veth was experiencing Jin's human consciousness with growing wonder. Through Jin's memories, the alien felt what it was like to wake up each morning with private thoughts that belonged to no one else. Veth experienced Jin's childhood, memory of building a treehouse alone, the satisfaction of creating something with his own hands and mind. "You have a secret place in your thoughts," Veth marveled, "a space where you imagine impossible things. You dream of traveling to distant stars, of meeting alien life, of becoming someone greater than you are now. These dreams are yours alone, and they give you strength." Jin shared his memory of falling in love with his college girlfriend, Mira. Veth experienced the complex mix of emotions, the nervousness of first asking her out, the joy of their first kiss, the pain when they broke, up before he left for space training. "You loved her completely, yet remained yourself," Veth said with amazement. "You shared your heart with her, but kept your individual dreams. Even in your closest connection with another being, you maintained your separate identity. How is this possible?" Jin smiled, even as tears ran down his face from the intensity of the experience. "That's what makes love meaningful. Choosing to share yourself with someone while still being yourself. If we all became the same person, there would be no love, just existing." Through their connection, both beings were changing. Jin began to understand the value of collective knowledge while appreciating his individual thoughts even more. Veth started to experience something the Kiral had lost long ago: the thrill of personal discovery, the beauty of private dreams, and the courage it took to love someone while remaining uniquely yourself. "I understand now," Veth said softly. "Separation is not loneliness. It is the foundation that makes true connection possible." When Veth finally withdrew from Jin's mind, the separation felt like losing a part of himself. Jin opened his eyes, slowly blinking in the bright lights of the infirmary. But something was different. Even though Veth was no longer directly connected to him, Jin could still sense echoes of the vast Kiral knowledge floating at the edges of his consciousness. "Jin, how do you feel?" Dr. Ari asked, checking his vital signs with obvious concern. Jin sat up carefully, his head spinning slightly. "I'm okay, but different. I can still feel traces of their collective memory. It's like having a library in the back of my mind that I can almost reach." Hana looked fascinated. "You retained some Of their shared consciousness? That's incredible. Meanwhile, Veth's light patterns had changed. Instead of the smooth flowing movements from before, the lights now flickered with sharper, more distinct patterns. The alien seemed to be struggling with something. "Veth, are you all right?" Jin asked with concern. The alien's response came slower than usual, as if it was thinking carefully before speaking. "I am experiencing something new. For the first time in millennia, I have thoughts that are mine alone. Private thoughts that I am not sharing with my people." Captain Tay stepped forward. "Is that dangerous for you?" "I do not know," Veth admitted. "But it is wonderful. I am thinking about Jin's memory of building that treehouse, and this thought belongs only to me. My people can sense that I am thinking about something, but they cannot access the actual memory because it came from Jin's individual mind." Suddenly, Veth's lights began flashing rapidly in distress. The alien's voice became strained. "Something is happening. My people are frightened. They sense the change in me, and some believe I have been contaminated by human consciousness." Jin felt a chill of worry. "Contaminated? Are you in danger?" Through their lingering connection, Jin could sense the chaos erupting among the chiral collective. Some of the alien minds were panicking, viewing Veth's newfound individuality as a disease that might spread. Others were desperately curious, yearning to experience what Veth had discovered. "There is a great debate among my people," Veth explained, its lights dimming with exhaustion. "The Elder Council believes that individual consciousness is a poison that will destroy our unity. They want to forcibly merge me back into the collective, erasing what I have learned." Hana looked alarmed. "Can they do that?" "Yes," Veth replied sadly. "But there are others who support me, younger Kirill, who have grown tired of our stagnation. They see what I have experienced and want to learn about individuality for themselves." Jin stood up unsteadily, still feeling the strange dual nature of his consciousness. "Veth, you're not contaminated. You've evolved. You've learned something beautiful. The elders do not see it that way. They are sending in forces to bring me back and cleanse my consciousness. But I do not want to lose what I have gained. For the first time in thousands of years, I have my own dreams." Captain Tay looked grim. "Are we putting our ship in danger by harboring you?" Before Veth could answer, Jin interrupted. "Captain, I'm changing too. The knowledge I gained from the collective, it's still there. I understand their technology, their science. This exchange didn't just help Veth. It could revolutionize human understanding of the universe." Ari ran more scans on Jin, her eyes widening at the results. "His brain patterns show permanent changes. New neural pathways have formed almost. Like he's gained additional processing capacity." Yoon, who had been quietly monitoring communication channels, suddenly looked up with alarm. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures approaching our position. Multiple contacts moving faster than anything in our databases." Veth's lights flashed urgently. "They come for me. The Kirill fleet approaches, but they do not come in. Peace, and they come to reclaim what they believe belongs to the collective." Jin felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He had become something new, part human, part connected to an alien collective consciousness. And now both species might depend on what he had learned from their unprecedented exchange. 3 weeks later, Earth's skies filled with the most beautiful and terrifying sight humanity had ever witnessed. The Kirill bioships appeared like living islands floating in space, massive organic structures that pulsed with soft bioluminescent light. They weren't the cold metal warships from human science fiction movies. Instead, they looked like enormous jellyfish made of starlight, gracefully drifting in formation around Earth. Jin stood in the newly constructed communication center in Geneva, watching the ships through the massive windows. His role as humanity's first neural diplomatic contact had thrust him into the spotlight overnight. World leaders, scientists, and military officials all looked to him for answers about these alien visitors. "They're not here to invade," Jin explained to the gathered crowd of Earth's most powerful people. "The chiral fleet is split. About half want to take Veth back and return to their old ways, but the other half are here because they're curious about what Veth experienced." President Chen of the Global United Nations looked skeptical. "How can we trust aliens who came here to reclaim one of their own? This could be an elaborate trick." Through the enhanced connection he still shared with Veth, Jin could sense the alien's presence even from the flagship hovering thousands of miles above. Veth is trying to convince both sides that there's a better way, a way that doesn't require anyone to give up what they are. Dr. Hannah Kim, now serving as Earth's chief xenobiologist, pulled up holographic displays showing the bioships. The interesting thing is that we can detect internal conflict within the ships themselves. Their collective consciousness is literally divided. Some areas pulse with one rhythm, others with a completely different pattern. General Park, Earth's military advisor, frowned at the displays. Divided or not, they have technology far beyond ours. If they decide to attack, our defenses won't hold for long. Jin felt a familiar, warm presence touch his mind. Veth was reaching out across the vast distance, sharing thoughts and emotions directly with him. Veth has a proposal, Jin announced to the room. They want to meet with Earth's representatives. Not just our leaders, but volunteers from all walks of life. Scientists, artists, teachers, engineers. People who represent humanity's diversity. A trap, General Park muttered. But Jin shook his head. No, it's an opportunity. Veth has convinced some of the younger Kirill to try what we did, temporary consciousness sharing. They want to experience individuality without losing their collective nature permanently. President Chen leaned forward. What exactly are they proposing? Jin closed his eyes, letting Veth's thoughts flow through him more clearly. Voluntary exchange programs. Humans who are willing would temporarily share consciousness with curious Kirill. Not permanent merging like their elders fear, but brief connections that let both species learn from each other. Dr. Hannah's eyes lit up with excitement. It would be the greatest scientific advancement in human history. Direct knowledge transfer, shared experiences, mutual understanding between species. It would also be incredibly dangerous, General Park countered. We don't know the long-term effects on human consciousness. Jin opened his eyes and looked around the room. The long-term effects on me have been entirely positive. I have access to knowledge that could solve climate change, cure diseases, and advance human technology by centuries. But more importantly, I understand now that consciousness, individual thought, is humanity's greatest gift to the universe. Through the windows, one of the bioships began to glow brighter, moving closer to Earth's atmosphere. Jin could feel the mixture of hope and fear radiating from the Kirill aboard it. They're scared, Jin said softly. Both sides. The traditionalists are terrified of losing their unity. The progressives are afraid of being alone with their thoughts. But Veth is showing them that you can have both, individual dreams and chosen connection. President Chen stood up slowly. What do you recommend, Jin? You're the only human who's experienced what they're offering. Jin looked out at the alien ships, feeling the weight of two species' futures resting on his answer. 6 months after first contact, the integration facility on Lunar Base buzzed with activity that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. Dr. Ari checked her medical equipment one final time, her hands steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to do. As Earth's leading expert on consciousness studies, she had volunteered to be the first person in the formal exchange program with the Chiral. Are you nervous? Asked Day, the brilliant engineer who had spent months working with both human and Chiral scientists to design the neural interface chambers. The technology was a marvel, part human engineering, part Chiral bioorganic systems that looked more like living coral than machines. Ari smiled as she settled into the specially designed chair. Terrified and excited at the same time. Jin's reports made it sound incredible, but also overwhelming. The chamber around her pulsed with soft, warm light. Tendrils of bioorganic material extended from the walls, designed to create a safe bridge between human and Chiral consciousness. Across from her, in a matching chamber, floated Zix, a young Chiral who had volunteered to experience individual thought for the first time. Remember, Jin said through the communication system, you can pull back at any time. The connection is designed to be gentle and reversible. Day monitored the interface systems from his control station. Working with chiral biotechnology had revolutionized his understanding of engineering. Instead of building machines, they grew them. Instead of programming computers, they cultivated living systems that could adapt and learn. Initiating connection in 3, 2, 1. Ari felt the familiar tingling sensation that Jin had described, but this time it was different. The technology made the connection smoother, more controlled. Instead of the overwhelming rush Jin had experienced, Ari felt like she was slowly walking into a warm ocean. "Hello, Dr. Ari," came Zix's voice in her mind, filled with curiosity and wonder. "I can feel your individual thoughts. They are like bright stars in a dark sky, each one unique and separate." Through their connection, Ari experienced a glimpse of the Chiral collective, but filtered and protected by the interface technology. She could sense the vast network of shared knowledge without being overwhelmed by it. Mathematical equations that had puzzled her for years suddenly made perfect sense. Scientific concepts that had seemed impossible became clear and simple. "This is incredible," she whispered. "Zix, I can understand quantum mechanics like it's basic arithmetic." But more importantly, Zix was experiencing what it meant to have private thoughts. Through Ari's consciousness, the young Chiral felt the joy of personal discovery, the satisfaction of solving a problem alone, the bittersweet happiness of a memory that belonged to only one mind. "You have a secret place in your thoughts where you imagine things that have never existed," Zix marveled. "You dream of new medicines that could heal people, of technologies that could make life better. These dreams give you energy to work toward making them real." Over the following weeks, more volunteers joined the program. Maya, a young artist from Mumbai, shared consciousness with Keth, a Chiral who had never experienced individual creativity. Through Maya's mind, Keth learned what it felt like to have a sudden burst of inspiration, to create something beautiful from nothing but personal imagination. "I painted something that no other Chiral has ever seen," Keth announced excitedly after their session. "It came from my own thoughts, my own feelings about Maya's memories of watching sunrise over the Ganges River." Meanwhile, Maya had gained access to Chiral understanding of color and light that existed beyond human perception. Her paintings began incorporating techniques that seemed to make colors glow with inner life. Day worked with Rin, a Chiral engineer, to design new technologies that combined human innovation with Chiral bioorganic systems. Together, they created medical nanobots that could think and adapt, solar collectors that grew like plants, and communication systems that connected minds across impossible distances. "The partnership is working better than we hoped," Day reported to the Oversight Committee. "Humans are gaining centuries of accumulated knowledge, while the Chiral are rediscovering creativity and individual innovation. Neither species is losing what makes them special. We're becoming more than we were before." The integration program was proving that consciousness, whether individual or collective, could be shared without being lost. 5 years had passed since the first Chiral bioships appeared in Earth's skies, and the world had transformed in ways no one could have imagined. Jin stood on the observation deck of New Harmony Station, a remarkable structure that orbited Earth, part human engineering, part Chiral biotechnology. The station itself was alive, its walls pulsing gently with bioluminescent patterns that responded to the emotions of its inhabitants. Through the transparent biometal windows, Jin watched shuttles carrying human and Chiral partners traveling between Earth and the various bioships that now served as peaceful research stations. What had once seemed like an alien invasion had become the most successful partnership in galactic history. "The morning reports are ready," said Veth, its consciousness touching Jin's mind with the familiar warmth of an old friend. After all, these years their connection had evolved into something unique, neither fully separate nor completely merged, but a chosen intimacy that both treasured. Jin smiled as he reviewed the data flowing through their shared awareness. Cities on Earth now used Chiral biotechnology to clean their air and water. Massive living structures grew from seeds, creating homes that adapted to their inhabitants' needs. Meanwhile, Chiral settlements throughout the galaxy buzzed with individual creativity they hadn't experienced in millennia. "Look at this," Jin said, highlighting a report from the Mars colony. "Engineer Sue and her Chiral partner Nex have designed living habitats that can survive in the Martian atmosphere. The structures literally breathe and grow stronger in the harsh environment." Through their connection, Veth shared its own excitement. And see what artist Chen has accomplished with Zara. Their collaborative paintings are being studied by Chiral across 17 different star systems. Individual creativity is spreading through our collective consciousness like ripples in a pond. The integration had not been without challenges. Some humans feared losing their independence, while conservative Chiral worried about contamination of their collective purity. But the voluntary nature of the program had addressed most concerns. No one was forced to participate, and everyone could choose the level of connection they were comfortable with. Jin walked through the station's living corridors, past laboratories where human and Chiral scientists worked together on projects that would have been impossible for either species alone. Dr. Hana Kim had developed treatments for genetic diseases using chiral biohealing techniques. Engineer Day had created spacecraft that grew themselves, reducing construction time from years to months. Ambassador Jin called Dr. Ari as she approached with her long-term chiral partner Reth. "We have remarkable news from the deep space exploration project." Ari's eyes shone with excitement. The joint human-Chiral expedition has discovered 17 new habitable worlds, but more importantly, they've found 3 other species struggling with the same problems the Chiral faced, collective consciousness that had become stagnant. Through Reth, the Chiral collective had learned that the universe was full of species caught between unity and individuality. Some had achieved perfect collective harmony, but lost innovation. Others had become so individualistic that they could no longer cooperate effectively. "We're developing protocols to help them," Reth explained, its communication flowing through both sound and direct consciousness transfer. The human model of chosen connection while maintaining individual identity appears to be the key to healthy consciousness evolution. Jin felt a surge of pride, not just for humanity, but for what both species had accomplished together. Humans had not conquered the galaxy through superior weapons or technology. Instead, they had shared their greatest gift, the ability to love, connect and cooperate while remaining uniquely themselves. As evening approached, Jin stood again at the observation deck, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The planet glowed with a different kind of light now, the bioluminescence of chiral biostructures mixed with human cities, creating patterns of beauty that neither species could have achieved alone. "We did something remarkable, didn't we?" Jin said to Veth. "We proved that consciousness is not a zero-sum game," Veth replied. "Connection does not require the loss of self. Unity does not demand uniformity. Diversity makes us stronger, not weaker." Looking out at the stars, Jin could sense other species beginning their own journeys toward balanced consciousness. The galaxy was changing, one voluntary connection at a time, proving that the greatest strength lay not in conquest, but in the courage to remain yourself while choosing to truly understand another. Veth's lights brightened. "I give you my promise. I will not harm Jin or any human. If the merging causes distress, I will withdraw immediately. I seek understanding, not domination." Captain Tay stood up, his face red with anger. "I cannot authorize this. It's too dangerous, too unknown. We're talking about gambling with a human life." Jin looked directly at his captain. "Then I'm volunteering against orders. Some things are bigger than protocol, Captain. This could change everything, for them and for us." The room fell silent again, tension crackling between the humans, while Veth's lights waited patiently for their decision.